Welcome, Priya. Welcome to Global Influencers Hub. Here we talk about the life journeys of social media influencers like yourself. And we cannot wait to deep dive into yours, take you back to your childhood, and hear all about you. So tell me how it all started.
I
Tell us
think
about
from a
your
very
childhood first. Tell
about
us about your childhood. How were you as
I
a child and all that?
yeah. I grew up in a very traditional, orthodox, conventional family in Coimbatore, and I have an elder brother. We grew up in a joint family. My grandmother also was, part of the family. It was very normal childhood, but I think from a very young age I started noticing that there was a lot of unfairness in the equation between adults and children. There
Very
was
true. Very true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was beginning to question all of that in my own mind, thinking that, probably if they had asked me in a much kinder tone or, with more understanding, it would have been easy for me. So I always felt like I was a misfit and I was not understood. So I think that's where the core of my work lies. So that's a big driving factor for me uh, to do what I'm doing today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So tell me, your schooling happened. After that, tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so I went to the same school for 12 years, and after that my college also again was in Coimbatore. So I was basically born, brought up, and everything happened in the same city. And schooling was fairly easy for me because I was somebody who could do academically well, and the system rewards children who are academically inclined. I became the good girl because simply because I could study well, grasp things easily. But on the other hand, my elder brother, he was not very academically inclined. He was not interested to study. He found it very challenging. So that gap that I used to see in the way he was treated and the way I was treated, that also brought me a lot of inspiration to do the work that I'm doing today. That academics is not the only core area for children to be punished, for them to prove themselves. The pressure a child feels when they can't perform academically, all of that also fuels the work that I do today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So in college, what kind of degree did you do?
I'm a civil engineer by by academics. Yeah, I did my master's also in civil engineering. I'm a structural engineer. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I couldn't practice after I finished studying. I practiced for probably 6 months, 8 months, and then I got married. And the family I married into didn't want me to pursue civil engineering or work under somebody. They wanted me to start something on my own. But at that time, I was not confident enough to begin off on my own because
Start
this is
something.
almost
Start
like,
something. Yeah.
yeah, being a doctor, you need to be somebody's junior for a while for you to know the practicalities of the things that we studied theoretically. So yeah, and then by then I kind of realized that I'm very inclined towards parenting, about children, about relationships and all of that. And once my child was born, I started speaking to parents about this conscious parenting concepts, having interactions on a smaller scale in my city. And gradually the crowd grew, and I got myself certified, and then I'm doing what I'm doing. It started off very organically. I started sharing small snippets, my thoughts, my perceptions on social media, Facebook at that time, and gradually shifted to Instagram now. And yeah, that's about my journey.
Wonderful. Now, what kind of parenting did you grow up with?
Mine was more of a very strict, orthodox, conventional kind of parenting, is what I had.
Okay. Okay. So, is there a parenting moment that you recall that kind of like deeply impacted you, where you thought that, no, I need to do something about something about.
Yeah. So there were many moments when I was punished, when I was not understood, when I felt very unseen in in the dynamics. There are so many moments I remember thinking that, oh no, I when I'm a parent, I don't want to
I'll do things
parent like
differently.
this. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
do things little differently, but I
yeah.
didn't know what at that time. I
Hmm.
think I got more clarity when I was a little into my 20s, 22, 23. Then I, figured, okay, this is something that I want to do. But even then, I didn't know the term for it. So when I was pregnant, I was not on social media. So the only internet, that I used to use used to be Google, and I did not know the term for this. I just kept searching for different alternative parenting styles, and randomly I came across this term called respectful parenting, and it really called to me. So then that's when I knew, okay, this is what I want to do. Okay, this is very similar to what I believe in about relationships.
Wonderful, wonderful. No, I mean, even for me, I recall that, when I was growing up, I was also from a very strict household. So at that time, and I certain things I didn't like. So I always used to tell myself, I'm going to get a different parent.
Uh,
So yeah, but this is interesting how we all, kind of think and how we actually come and implement it in our lives. Wonderful. So, so your journey kind of inspired you to become a parenting coach.
Definitely. And I
That is
also
what.
while growing up, I was seeing other parenting styles around me, my friends' parents who were much more open, much more liberal, who were much more respectful towards their children. And all of those I could recall as, tiny inspirations for me to parent differently.
Right. So when did this become a purpose in your life? Was it after your child was born?
Yeah, definitely. After my child was born, when I started talking to parents, and I realized that, okay, this is something that's calling to me. When I do this work, there are sparks of joy in me. I feel the sparks in my heart. So, this is something that I want to pursue seriously.
Wonderful. Describe your parenting style in 3 words.
Real, um,
Respectful.
understanding, respectful, understanding. But realness is something that really calls to me. Yeah.
Wonderful. Can you give me an example of what you mean by that? The realness that you're saying that, realness really calls for it. So.
Yeah. So my children get to see the real version of me, not you know a person who is suppressing her emotions, her realness in the name of gentle parenting. It's not that they'll see me suppressing my emotions. There is a lot of real human emotions that they get to see from me also when they're growing
Of
up.
of course. Of course. So can you give us an example? Like,
When I'm angry, they know I'm angry because it's I communicate with them. I say I'm very angry right now, and I think I need some time to steam off. It's nothing to do with you. It's some big. I'm going through big emotions right now. Just give me some space. So they know that I was going through something. They know when I'm upset. They've seen me cry. They've seen me break down. So they've seen me have conflicts with other adults. So they've seen all of these things around
yeah,
me, and they know, and
absolutely,
they've seen me
absolutely.
make mistakes. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm. Right. So I think
they've
this is
seen
a
me
this
make
is a good,
mistakes where,
basically seeing your
yeah,
vulnerable side as well.
absolutely.
Right. Right. So how do you define a healthy parent-child relationship in today's digital age?
A healthy one would be where the adult adult takes the responsibility for being the adult and to hold the safe space for the child, and the child in turn feels nurtured and loved and held, that they can be themselves with the parent, and both of them have a genuine bond. The child
Bond. Yeah.
knows that, okay, this, my parent, I'm the center of the world for my parent. That's somehow communicated to the child through our words, actions, and our presence.
Mm. So now, what do you think that most parents misunderstand about modern child behavior?
I think there is a huge misconception about gentle parenting in itself, where people think it's okay for the child to do whatever they want to do. So they think, parents think that letting the child do whatever they want to do is good parenting, which isn't. Being friendly with the child is, I'm being a friend to my child. I'm That's a big misconception. We can be friendly, but at the end of the day, we're still parents. We are the adults. We are the ones who
Absolutely.
set boundaries.
Very true. Talk a little bit about boundaries because I think that's an important aspect of life these days.
Absolutely. So I think, if I'm actually respecting a person or a relationship, it would be a safe space where I hold boundaries with the person. So even with our children, if we genuinely respected them and loved them, we would not be letting them do whatever they want to do just because they can feel good at that moment and we can feel good at that moment. If there is genuine respect, I think it goes hand in hand with healthy, respectful, and firm boundaries also. So when I say something is not okay, when I see that something is not healthy or hygienic for my child in the long run, I would definitely be very firm with my boundaries. They can be upset about my boundaries. They can have emotions about my boundaries. My role is to still hold the boundary and also hold space for the emotions that come after the boundaries. So that is a big shift that I see in the way that I parent from the previous generation, because they also used to be very strict. They used to have very rigid boundaries, but there was no space for the emotions that came after that. No acknowledgement, no validation. So however upset I am with their boundary, it was just for me to deal with. This is, I'm the parent. I get to decide what you have to do, and you should also be happy about it. That was what was communicated to us when we were children. But now today I see that the shift is happening in my style or in my home, that yes, I know this is difficult for you because you wanted something and you didn't get it. Yes, you can be upset. I'll sit with you, but we are not doing what we will not be doing.
Right. No, that's true. I think these days that is probably the most important thing which we don't understand is after it, suppose they want to implement the boundaries that we set. For example, like acknowledging it and telling them, okay, you know what, I think I appreciate the fact that you understand. Yes, you're probably upset about it, but I'm glad that you're at least trying to see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think, just this communication part of things between a parent and a child has become very important.
Yeah, and one more thing that I'm noticing is also the other side, where parents are setting boundaries and explaining too much, waiting for the child to accept that boundary, be happy with that boundary, and then they get very drained out and tired. So the middle path, where I'm saying this is the boundary, you can be upset about it, you don't have to happily agree to it, but we will continue doing it this way. Yeah, so it will be, my boundary, I'm very rigid about my boundary, and we'll be doing it even if you're upset. But parents I see are, sometimes there are many parents who get confused that having respectful boundaries mean that you explain logically to the child, wait for them to agree, be happy about it, and then execute the boundary. It doesn't work like that.
Right. So how do you, so you're saying that your style is basically that you just talk to the child and say that, this is what I think is good for you now. And this is how we should just proceed. And after that, whatever emotions come with it, you handle it as a parent.
Yeah, yeah. And
Correct?
if the child is too small to physically act on it, then then resisting it again means that I should physically help my child navigate it. Say for example, coming back from the park, no child wants to stop their playtime, and I say we're going to go home in 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes when I say let's go home, the child is going to be very unhappy and say no, 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 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. So in that case, when I ask my child to come, they're not going to be able to. So many times I've had to carry my child back home while they're crying and being upset. Yeah. Same with
So
transitions, bath time.
got it,
Yeah.
got it, got it. So that is also showing the child being respectful about the boundary that you set.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it trains the child from from the very beginning onwards.
Yeah.
That so I think, do you think the tantrums become a lot less when the child is trained right from the beginning? Or
Not really. Not really. So none of these are ways for us to reduce tantrums, because no matter what, it's about the brain and the developing brain of the child. So anyway, till 7 years, 8 years, tantrums are going to be there, and it also
right.
largely depends on the temperament and the nature of the child also.
Okay, okay. Any tips on raising emotionally intelligent children in a fast-paced world?
I think just giving them space. For all children are emotionally intelligent by nature. Humans are emotionally intelligent, and if we give space for the child to just express their emotions and be okay with it without shaming them, without belittling them, without making them feel less about themselves for just having human emotions, I think just not doing those things in itself naturally lets a child be emotionally aware. And once they're a little older, probably 6 7 years, they can start labeling their emotions. That also helps for the child to understand, okay, this emotion is called this. So labeling also, I'm seeing parents doing very early, when the child has no understanding of that concept. For them, very when they're very small, they only know feeling good, feeling bad, and we
Right.
overcomplicate it from a very young age. So 8 9 years is a good age to start labeling emotions, that happy, sad. Even then, just the basic ones. And once they are much older, in their teens, late teens, then they themselves will go into the nuances of emotions.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So let's play a quick game. I'll give you a parenting scenario and you
Okay.
give your instant advice. A
Okay.
4-year-old throws a tantrum in public.
Yeah, I would remove the child from public and take them to a more private space, the car or somewhere where there's more privacy, so they can have the tantrum in the privacy without so many people judging, and the mother also feeling overwhelmed by the judgment of so many people.
A 10-year-old says, I hate you because the parent denied screen time.
Yeah, my reaction would be, yeah, I understand. You're upset about something. Let's talk about it. Because the child who usually says, I hate you, is saying that I'm having some big emotions that I'm not knowing how to communicate to you.
Okay, okay. A teen refuses to talk and slams the door.
Teens, I think it's best to give them some space while they cool off and then come back. Yeah, it's very common for teens to slam doors, be in their own spaces, not wanting to engage. So they kind of create that distance and then also end up feeling very lonely. Nobody cares for me. Nobody thinks about me. It's a very
True,
it's a very
true.
hormonal and a very brain development related thing that teenagers go through. So as parents, I think giving them that space, but also letting them know that I get you, I understand, this is not easy for you.
Cool. So, how important do you think it is for parents to work on their own mental health as well?
I think that's primary, because just give me a minute, I'll just charge my laptop.
Sure, sure, sure. Samim, is the video recording video? Can I just ask a question to my team? Is the video quality being okay? Because it's at times it's a little blurry for me. Samim?
My side? Okay.
It's okay now?
We can go.
You can edit? Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's get back. What are some daily practices you think that actually strengthens a parent-child bond?
I think it's important for families to eat together without screens, to have at least one meal together where we all feel like we're a single unit, and we can create that space to share, discuss, just feel
Right,
we're
right.
together.
No, that is a very important thing. Even my mom used to tell us that all the time. And yeah, I think that's very important. As a family life coach, what areas do you focus on primarily with your clients?
Their own, I think, their own inner work, their own mental health is something that I'm very, very passionate about, because at the end of the day, it comes down to that. So, to continue your previous question that you were asking about how important is mental health of the adults, a simple example is, let's say that this family is going out on a trip, a family vacation, and the parents are very excited, the children are very excited, everybody is, looking forward to that trip. And on that day, somehow, the children's behaviors or tantrums don't really affect the parents so much. It doesn't trigger us so much.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah. But on the day that we're coming back home from the vacation and tomorrow is a working day, the evening, even if the child is a little bit whiny or cranky, it really gets on to the nerves of the parents.
True, true, true. Yeah,
Yeah.
true, true. Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
the same child, same behavior, but somehow our response to it is very different based on the mindset that we have within us. If I'm feeling
Hmm.
good, if I'm feeling high, if I'm feeling, nice about life, if I have something to look forward to, then we manage things very differently compared to us feeling a little low, dull.
No. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how
So
do you,
that,
so basically, I think that is the answer is basically just work on your mental.
yeah,
Make that the most primary thing that, once you become a parent, I think your mental health is the most important thing so that you can deal with a child better,
absolutely.
right? So what kind of
Yeah,
tips do you give,
absolutely. I think that is the core.
so what kind of tips do you give parents at that time?
um, I ask them to take some time off for themselves, to do things that really spark joy in them. Because in this hustle, fast paced world, I see that parents somehow, you know 9 to
They
5,
kind of
and then
lose
10 to 8.
themselves. They
Yeah,
just lose themselves. Yeah.
themselves, they become last priority, their wellness, their health, all physical, emotional, mental, all three of them somehow take the backseat, especially for mothers, because she's juggling a lot of things. So I keep insisting and keep reminding parents that that 10-15 minutes that you take for yourself really makes a huge difference.
Wow. No, that's very true. Very, very true. Now, do you have any specific models or tools or techniques that you use in your coaching sessions?
Yeah, so I focus a lot on grounding, meditation, some emotional freedom techniques, EFT. Mm, and then there's always an element of asking for guidance and support from the power higher than us. So there's always
How?
a, yeah, connect to the divine as part of my modules.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Excellent. So then now tell us a little more about how your social media took off.
It was very organic because I started posting content from the child's perspective, and I think that was really liked by many people. Where they never thought of how this situation would look like from my child's eye. So when I started writing about that, about how a child feels, I used to get a lot of feedback saying that really you know, that made me pause, think, and be more compassionate towards my child, be more understanding towards my child.
Now, what was the first video that you remember that actually got like a lot of likes or a lot of shares, or
Hmm. I
where
think
where it
what
made
I
you
feel,
think that I think this can be something or this is going somewhere?
um, just my videos on me questioning, the system, the hypocrisy in the system. I think all of that series took off very well, called Why Da Why. Just me questioning the system. Say, for example, how is it okay that, when adults have big emotions, it's okay, and when the same thing a child does, it's called being stubborn, being adamant. So that, there's always a hypocrisy when it comes to how we look at children.
Right, right, right. And do you interact with your followers?
Yeah, quite often Q&As and the DMs. Yeah.
What is the most touching DM that you've received?
Mm, the theme of it is that how much, I'm part of their lives. So when a follower says that, I think of you very often in during my parenting struggles. And something that really touches me is when a parent writes to me and says that, I hit my child today, or I was very violent with my child today, I yelled at my child today. So it takes them a lot of guts to actually come and tell, share with me that they did something that I don't really advocate for. And they trust that I will hold space for them. So I find that very touching when you're
Of course.
advocating for the exact opposite, and when a person feels that, okay, she will understand me when I share my parenting, my worst parenting moment with her, she will still understand me. I think somewhere that touches me a lot.
Right, right. Wow, yeah, that just shows like they trust you enough to come and tell you that they have had a failed parenting moment.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. So what's something, tell us something that your kids do to make you laugh, no matter what your mood is.
I think just the way they come and, hug me all of a sudden out of nowhere, when they're doing, when they're in between something, that really touches me. Physical display of affection, the hug and the kisses and the showering of kisses, all of that. Yeah.
Right, 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 right. So morning madness or bedtime chaos? Which one's more intense at your place?
Bedtimes are much more intense because I'm very, very particular about their bedtime. Mornings I'm a little more relaxed because, you know, I know we kind of have a routine, but bedtimes are very chaotic because I get very worked up if, even if it's 15-20 minutes delay, if you're running on a delay. I'm I'm like this flight attendant who's constantly reminding them about it's bedtime, please hurry up, we have to go to sleep. Yeah.
How old are they now?
They're 9 and 5.
Oh, nice, nice. Very cool. Good
Mm.
age, actually, for all of the things that you're doing. I
Yeah.
think they are the perfect age. So
Yeah, yeah.
perfect. So, what's your secret superpower as a mom and a coach?
I think it's my ability to pause during high, intensely emotional moments. Somehow, I manage, majority of the time at least, not always. Majority of the time, I pause before I react too much.
Reaction.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, well, that is a secret superpower always, because most of us we're like, okay, we react immediately because that's how it is. Wonderful. So, ever bribed your kids with chocolate or screen time? Saying, "Ki,
No, that's something that I've never done.
no."
Rewarding is something that I'm very not a big fan of. Similarly for threatening and punishments also. So I will take this away. I will, you know, it's never that I'm giving them that consequence of, if you do this, I'm going to take away this from you. I will not talk to you. I will not do this. All of that is not part of what I do. I don't believe in that.
So what do you, so suppose there is a situation that, that you don't like something that he or she is doing. So
Yeah.
how do you, you know,
Just the first half of it is there. I don't want you to do this. And if they're continuing to do it, then it means that physically I have to take it away from them and then sit with them while they're having big emotions. Somehow I feel rewarding, threatening punishments erodes into the trust that is very essential in that relationship. We wouldn't ideally do that with our adult relationships, be it friendships, marriage, uh, colleagues. We don't ideally say, that if you don't finish the project on time, I'm going to, we don't give that strict threatening, or if you finish this, I'm going to buy you chocolate, I'm going to buy you dinner. We don't do it in our adult relationships. So even similarly with a child, I feel that when we bring in that control from outside into the relationship, so it's a way of control. When I'm rewarding them or threatening them or punishing them, it is me using external things to control their behavior, which would work temporarily. I'm not saying it wouldn't work, it will temporarily work, but what in the long run? The price I have to pay is that my child doesn't really feel very bonded to me. It doesn't make them feel that we're on the same team. Yeah,
okay,
so
okay,
that's a big reason why I don't believe it.
okay. So for that, you just talk to them. You just talk to them and you just tell them that. So communication becomes the most important thing,
Primary. Yeah.
primary.
And that trust I have built over the years, that if she says something, she means it. It would be for my good. It's not that they accept happily. That is not happening. They are still unhappy. They will be upset. There'll be huge meltdowns, tantrums, or whining. The elder one is now in that whining phase, so all of that is still there. It's just that I don't want to bring in other elements to take away something that is naturally there between a parent and a child. That trust is, the child is very giving that way. They're built with that element to trust us already. So why erode it by using these practices?
Oh wow, that's a very, very beautiful way of taking, beautiful take on parenting and the equation between a parent and a child. That's pretty cool. So tell us about your funniest parenting fail.
Um, Funniest, I think it would be when my second child. She's very brutally honest on the face. So she'll keep pulling me out, calling me out in public, in front of people, saying, "You asked me not to do that. Now you are doing that." Amma, it's very wrong to use this tone. Why are you being so rude? So in between so many people, especially being you know advocating for such kind of parenting, when she calls me out, I kind of somehow find that very embarrassing, funny. Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah, that's
The
interesting. Yes.
label I have to carry. So when I was out once, I was in a different city, and she was we were out in a restaurant with a group of friends, and she was being all over the place. And I was kind of telling her, I kept insisting that you can't run around in the wet bathroom, you're going to slip and fall. And she wouldn't listen to me. So at that time I ended up actually having to raise my voice because I was scared, raising my voice saying, "Sarah, no, you can't do that," in a much more intense way. And I turn, and then immediately this person's looking at me, and I was not, in my city in Coimbatore, at least, people recognize me. So I was in a different city, I was not even bothered. And then she came up to me and she said, "I actually follow you on Instagram." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." I had this this sheepish smile on my face because I had just raised my voice on Sarah, and this person is looking at me.
That was like an oops moment.
Oops, okay, yeah, yeah, parenting fail, but still I had an audience.
God, that must have been like oh okay.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. So what's next for your journey?
I think more, more serious programs for parents. I'm also coming up with a product for parents. to help them reduce their screen time. It's called the Plug Box.
Fantastic. That is so needed. My goodness, I think a lot of parents will be so grateful to you for that.
Yeah. It's a very simple product, wherein the core concept is to create a physical distance. Everything has a place in our house except our phones, which somehow keep attaching to our bodies all the time. So yeah, that's the core objective behind the product. So I'm really excited and looking forward to launching it and helping it reach more homes.
Fantastic. Even we will definitely make sure it reaches more home.
Thank you.
So important. I think this is such an important thing, including my child as well. So I think that will be very valuable.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I let's. I think we've covered a lot of it. I would love to jump onto rapid fire now. That's
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Yeah.
One word your kids use to describe you.
I think understanding.
Discipline or negotiation? What works better?
I think both work based on the situation.
Cool. The last show you binge watched.
There was a Tamil series on Amazon Prime called Sulal. I finished both the series, I think, in one weekend.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That's probably your best me time as well.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Yeah. Most used phrase in your home.
I think it happens.
Ah,
It happens.
good.
I get you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mom's voice or silent stare? What's more effective?
For me, I think more than the stare, the voice. Personally, for me, the voice is what happens without even realizing.
Right. Weekend with the family, movie night or outdoor picnic?
Movie night.
Most overused parenting advice.
I think discipline the child. A child who is not scared of the parents will become very rotten adults. I think that's also a very misunderstood parenting advice.
I know that's true. I'll probably ask you a little about it a little later after I finish the rapid fire.
So,
One thing that instantly lifts your mood.
good music.
Ah, true, true, true. Anything particular you like?
Um, Rahman, Ilayaraja,
Cool. If your life was a children's book, what would the title be?
The Magician.
Ah, nice. You have a surprise kid-free day.
Hmm.
What would you do?
I think I'll just sleep. I'll sleep a lot, binge watch shows that I wanted to watch, read. I enjoy reading a lot, so I read.
Nice. If you had extra 10 minutes a day, what would you do?
I think I would probably just sleep. As a parent who's constantly on the run, I think sleep is something that I crave. I love sleeping.
Oh, good. Because
Yeah,
that actually kind of like really relaxes you and you're fresh with, because you have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
there
Sleep.
is a sleep deprivation moment, I'm sure, at
Yeah,
times, of course. So I think that kind of, takes care of it.
yeah.
If your child wrote a book about you,
Hmm.
what would that title be?
I would want it to be my safe space.
Ah, how sweet. Very,
Yeah,
very, very sweet. So I think, Priya, we've had a good conversation,
I enjoyed it.
and I think I've covered most of the questions. In case we need additional information, my team would reach out to you.
Sure.
Uh, but it was a great time talking to you,
Same,
and
same.
all the very best with everything.
Thank you so
And
much.
we cannot wait for the launch of the product that you mentioned.
I'm very glad
Do you
that
have
you're
a
so
timeline for
excited.
that? Do you have a timeline for that?
Probably in June, July, based
Oh,
on
good.
how the
Good. None,
manufacturing
none.
goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So not too far.
Not too far.
Not too far. Good,
Yeah.
good. So wonderful. Okay, cool. And if you can let us know how you liked talking to us today, that would also be good.
I absolutely enjoyed the conversation. The questions were so good, so unique, and very, very thoughtful. As soon as I heard each question, I was, oh my god, how did they think of such a question? I really enjoyed it. It was a very fun and great conversation. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best to you also for your
Thank you.
venture to take off very well. And I think going forward, this is very important, a platform for the voices to come together.
Very true. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you
so
so
nice
much.
talking to you, and all the best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Yeah.